So, day 2, a walk to basically join in the back into the nursing career. So today was a good day too, and so I thought it'd be really good for my patients and to be able to basically let them know how it was. To let them know that how, even though I had the knowledge and the education of mental illness, and even the addictions and stuff, that when trauma and stuff happens, that even those of us who have the education and stuff can basically fall into, burnout and deep deception and stuff like that. And there's no shame or anything like that to get the help that we need. Medical staff, even parents, teachers. I met teachers today too, who just keep going because they just feel like they have to, and they're constantly carrying all the things that they need to, and but along the way they're just leaving parts of them behind, and parts of them can be physical illnesses, and it could be mental illnesses, and it could be parts of their memories, or it could even be injuries when we're not wholeheartedly mind, body, and souls, and we're trying to constantly move to waters that are what we think is in still waters or safer waters. And it's funny that it come out again. When you go to mental health, you have that personal transition, but we constantly trying to make the better houses, and we're constantly trying to put our brains together, or even, it's funny how it came out again, trying so hard to put things together. But when you're hurt and you have trauma, I don't care if you're a nurse, a doctor, a teacher, a mom. When we have, constantly working, it's hard to take that step back and look. And you could have, I don't care if you have 20 years, if you have 50 years, you're constantly taking care of other people, and you can't even look back at yourself. I don't care if there's no drugs involved. I don't care anything. If you don't take care of yourself, there's going to be disharmony. There's going to be, my card went missing. There's going to be disharmony. There's not going to be able to, there's not going to be any type of unity in your mind. And that's when it's really important that you have a really good support system. And, people, we, gotta follow your intuition, but if you don't have a really healthy intuition, or a really grounded person to go to, you're constantly leaving parts of you behind. Even with my knowledge of having the mental health background, when I had the trauma and the loss and everything like that, it brought me down to a place that, I lost myself. It wasn't until I got into esoteric and started developing things of, started reading, honestly, Hermes. Once I started reading Hermes and quantum physics and paranormal psychology, did I start understanding things. But it really wasn't until I completely came grounded where I started going back, where I went into therapy, where I went into a actual residential type of treatment. My trauma was a lot worse than most people's, and I had no problem sharing that with people. I'm very lucky that I was able to survive what I survived. And to be able to share that full-heartedly, you know, it means that I am healed from that, and that no one can take me down. You know, a lot of rest and recuperation, you know, was definitely a part of it, and there's no shame in that. No shame in that at all. So, some people might tell you not to share, but then I'm keeping my abundance that I have to share with other people about healing journey, about what I had experienced, about what I've learned. You know, and I remember back in the 80s, you know, it was a shame to go to mental health, but with, you know, Prince William and Prince Harry, you know, after Princess Diana died, you know, that's when mental health became more abundant, and that's when soul journeys became more accepted. And so I followed that lead. Not that I'm anything special, but even when I was younger, I embraced it. You know, my father was an alcoholic, and, you know, so it's definitely a thing in me. We all know that that's a disease of, you know, it's a disease. I stayed away from alcohol and stuff like that. And when COVID happened and everything was closed down, you know, I had got my marijuana card, and there was no groups available. You know, the Zoom and stuff wasn't available yet. You know, so I self-medicated, and you know, I did it all. I was mom, I was nurse, I was, you know, I was mom, dad, nurse, you know, head of the household. I was doing everything, and people probably like, oh, you know, you're supposed to, but I was lonely and isolated, and with, you know, not being able to go anywhere or have anybody or anything like that, and then you're losing your husband after 25 years. You know, we were married 19, but we were together for like 25, 26 years. You know, it was conflict and tension in my mind. You know, I just couldn't understand, you know, what was going on. And then when I had the sexual, basically, attack happened to me, and what happened, you know, became disassociated. I'm one of the lucky ones, though, karma and justice, that I beat it. I'm a person that went through disassociation, not even knowing basically who I was, losing memories, seeing things happen from a different perspective, even forgetting parts of me, who I was, and being very ungrounded. And, you know, failure, loss, lack of stability, that was definitely me. You know, Ten of Pentacles, I lost freaking everything. I even lost my son for a year. You know, and I'm grateful that my family took him so I can get the help that I needed. You know, energy, passion, movement, yeah. When they came and took my son, you know, people, I was able to concentrate on myself, because I didn't think there was anything wrong with me. You don't know. When you have that trauma, you don't know. You could have people telling you there's something wrong. Oh, okay, you know, but for real, you know, they were panicking. I wasn't. There's nothing wrong. When trauma happens, something happens to your brain, you disassociate. You can tell a person right and wrong, left and right, that something's wrong with you, and you need help. But, you know, no, you don't, because we don't see it. We hold on to our reality, because our reality at the time is our world. It's not that we don't love ourselves, not because we didn't love our children, not because we didn't love our family. That's our reality. At that time, That was my reality. It had nothing to do with not loving myself. It had nothing to do with me not getting help. It had nothing to do with anything other than in that time, in that reality, there was nothing wrong. Literally. I was like so disassociated. I did not understand what was going on. Like, it's hard to explain it, but I can understand now, that to become that patient and be able to be grounded now and be able to live through that and be able to now, like, I think my experiences now are more valuable than and don't get me wrong, doctors go through a lot of experience and they have to do all their studies and stuff like that, but to be firsthand, to live through that stuff, to live through the delusions and illusions and see the world, dude, I thought the FBI and the CIA was watching me, but, and aliens, don't forget the aliens. But I understand that was a part of clairvoyance. That was a part of, to me, the magician means Christ consciousness. It is, some people might call it paranoia. For me, that means you're connected into something bigger to you. That means that there's a problem, but when there is magician, it's Christ consciousness, there means a problem, but there is a solution. So this is saying, action, creation, manifestation, power, self-confidence, clarity, willpower, skills, and creativity. The magician is pointing to the capabilities and resources at your disposal. The mind and the universe are only a reflection of one another. Remember that you are the power, so the outer world may recognize your strength. So, Christ consciousness. So I was connecting into the void, but because there's really no teachers to explain this, we become having like this paranoid thing. Your family will think you're absolutely nuts, and you are, because you are. Clinically, you are considered disassociated. When it comes to like the justice system and the areas and stuff like that, you've lacked your stability. You've lacked your focus. You've lacked the normal teachings of our world. It's very simple. It would take a person probably like myself to almost be able to warp my mind, because it's already been warped. Not that I had to warp my mind, but because I've been there and I remember being there in that mindset, I can almost like reach that person now because I've been there, So it's like sending in a trained firefighter or a trained EMT kind of, and pulling the victim out. Person who's lost their way due to me studying, this is Hermes or Hermit card, gone into that capability of being able to tap into my brain, being able to tap into different types of studies of esoteric, of different types of spiritual things, and understanding so many different types of brain types. And not that I know the names, I don't know all the names and stuff like that, but I understand it when I see it because I can kind of mirror it. They have creative blocks, codependency, You're experiencing a new life, maybe in a form of pregnancy, romantic business, or elsewhere. The Empress position upright may also significant time for kindness to yourself and invest time, self-care, take comfort knowing the Empress has your back. Abundance, nurturing, fertility. So Empress isn't always about pregnancy. It's more about creating a new idea or a new project. It's not always about actual physical pregnancy. If it was, a bunch of us people would be more pregnant. But to me, it also could be, you could be pregnant, meaning that you could be channeling. I mean, that's my interpretation. Everybody's interpretation of tarot is different. I believe that tarot can be used based on your spirituality and what level you might be at. It be, it's just a guide. It's not written in stone. These are not tablets. Even the tablets and all the biblical texts are an individual journey. It's all about your walk with AKA God, or whoever your God, guru, whoever it is. The names, the labels is what's destroying our world. It all is individual. Yahweh, Jesus, Jesus, Zeus, lose the labels. Go by their actions. Very simple. Very simple. Because of secrets, the harm, go by your damn intuition, because there is dark and light in everything that we read our life. We go through the darkness and we look for the light. Well, some people enjoy the darkness, and unfortunately, because of the mental health issues of our world, we are not seeing that the darkness is actually dark. And a lot of people are really lost, and it's really a shame. But because I had a very grounding life, I've experienced the karma wheel. I understand it. I understand more, and I'm grateful. Between very good people like Jeff and Brian and Tyler and Natalie and Eric and Karen and my family and people that are very close to me. A lot of them were very tough. Some very, very tough on me, and they didn't know what to do. They did what they were either trained to do, taught to do, or they were led to do spiritually, or just they were afraid. And there's nothing wrong with that. And I'm better for every decision that they made. But the illusions, that I had gone through, I'm lucky because I had that instilled in me between my parents, between my jobs, between everything. But there are people out there that aren't making it. There are people out there that don't have the guides. They just don't have it. And we're losing a lot of people due to drug overdoses, due to things not being taught correctly. It's time to update the knowledge. It's time for people to come together and understand that we all have different interpretations of things, and it should not be that it's interpreted one way, and if it's not interpreted your way, that someone needs to be disarmed or put in a damn jail. I don't know if you can see that. It's the Ace of Swords, which is Truth card. And we're all hard at work. We're all here, school of life. We are all basically figured at school. Some of us are born with new souls, and you could be 80 years old and a brand new soul and read the Bible one way, or read the Quran one way, or read whatever one way. And then you could have a 5-year-old that's been reincarnated 5 times and understands life differently. It doesn't mean it's wrong. Me, what if I've been reincarnated freaking 12 million times and just have a different perception of the world? What if the person reading this has only been reincarnated 2 times and they look at me like I'm freaking nuts? Why do you get that look to judge me like that? God is in each one of us. Do you really think right afterwards when we die God's going to be there and judge you? No. there is karma loco, and I believe that depending on your vibration will get you to go past a certain gate. I believe your vibration, your signature of your essence, what's written in your DNA or in your memory or whatever you're learning. So let's say I believe in Taoism and I believe in Buddhism and I've read the, you know, understand, let's say, quantum physics. Let's say because I believe in certain aspects of sci-fi and open-mindedness. Let's say I understand frequency. Maybe me understanding all this, I believe in paranormal. Let's say when I'm done on my soul's journey, I have now unlocked my soul to not have to be reincarnated to this earth. What if I figured out where the quantum field is to get off this earth and not have to come back here? What if I already chose to come back here to release the souls off this earth because I figured it out? Are you going to sit there and tell me I'm freaking wrong? Truth, on the other hand, because free will, we are here on this planet for free will, right? So if we are here for free will, you do have the right to not believe me. That's free will. So that's the beauty part of this planet. Are you going to kill me for it? New ideas, creativity, alert, thirst, knowledge, restlessness, spying, new investigation, information, message, contact. You know, I'm giving you information for free. And hey, I don't even have that many people on this freaking channel, so. But what if me putting this information out there also is connecting to a part of Christ consciousness, and I'm going to connect to other people, and me just voicing it out using my throat chakra is going to help people. You know, I'm not like others, and you know, I don't sit there and make millions of dollars doing this. I've never even made money off this freaking channel. I don't even have enough viewers to. You know. Oh, so. Meditation. What are you doing? Get down, Scar. What are you doing up there? You want to be up there? What are you doing? You're so silly. Jump up on your cage to get on the table. You're silly. You are so silly. Keep the Sophie wrong? You can only do it, Sophie. Girl. Say my teenage, just a living. But I'm nobody's but yours. If it's you, if our love is wrong. Wanna be right. I don't ever wanna be right. If it's you, if our love is wrong, I don't ever wanna be right. I don't ever wanna be right. ambitious, fast thinking. Oh, believing in truth. You are on a mission and there is no stopping you. The only problem is that you may be quick to take action and you're not planning. Keep the energy flowing but calculate. Don't trip over anyone on your either. You may be careless on feelings of others on your mission inadvertently, so try to remain empathetic. Well, I do try. Sometimes I do stick my foot in my mouth. I do. I admit that. I love these cards. They are really, well, like I said, everybody's on a solo journey. Some of us are born at certain paths. Some of us need the Bible to be taught a certain way, and it's like learning the numbers 1, 2, and 3, or A, B, and C. And then you add algebra and you add calculus, and then you go regular chemistry into biology and quantum physics. Some people believe in string theory, and some people believe in quantum physics, and some people can't get it. Some people believe in paranormal. Some people that get it. Does that mean that one is wrong and one's right, or does this mean that some people's souls are more evolved than the others? Why does this world have to be so freaking negative against people? I mean, what was it? Einstein, or I'm like Fig Newton. They looked at people. I mean, even Nikola Tesla. They thought Nikola Tesla was crazy because you know what? He was 100 years before his time. Maybe I'm just 100 years before my time. You're almost there. You almost have the unconscious or consciously taken on extra responsibilities, but you know that the blood, sweat, and tears you put into is paying off. Aries, Leo, Sagittarius, and Fire. Burden, extra responsibility, hard work, overload, carrying too much stress. Keep going, and in sight. Completion. Yeah, so anyway. Well, I'm going to get off here. I just wanted to share, that, so I'm going to tell, it's not a joke, but kind of is. So today, I told several of my patients what I had gone through, and I started off with, okay, just understand that I haven't practiced in 5 years, and that I did all the work. I got approved from my mental health provider, that I was well enough to go back to work. They thought I was mentally and, psychologically stable to go back to work. So 3 days before I had left, sorry, I'm getting hair in my face. I said, hey doc, I gotta tell you something. He's like, what? I said, I thought I was Jesus Christ reincarnated. He's like, really? I'm like, yeah, it was during the isolation and, trying to figure out who I was. And he goes, oh. He goes, and what do you think now? I said, well, right now I feel really bad for this son of a bitch. And he's like, what? I'm like, yeah. I said, poor guy stuck in a 53-year-old woman's body, widow. I've been raped, I've been drugged, became an alcoholic. I feel bad. Maybe he was soul searching, maybe I was soul searching. And he was like, Jesus Christ, Jill. I said, no, I told you. Not Jesus. I said, no, he said, oh God, Jill. I said, no, I told you. Jesus Christ, not God. He started laughing. He's like, oh my, he said, Jill. I'm like, what? He goes, you gotta get out of here. I'm like, oh my God, you gonna Baker act me? You gonna send some? And I'm playing with him at this time. He's like, Jill, you just get out of here. And he started messing with me, kind of joking me back. He's like, maybe you shouldn't go back into nursing. I thought you cleared me from nursing. He's just like, oh my God, you're just driving me nuts. I said, well, what? He goes, maybe you should become a freaking comedian. I said, but I thought you just told me I was a freaking nurse. And he goes, Jill, he's like, you're freaking hysterical. And I told better, I have to practice more. Anyway, and he's like, Jill, you ever thought about going into comedy? I said, well, So I need to freaking practice first, so I'm going back to nursing to practice on some of my patients and stuff like that. Make sure I'm grounded before I start a career and possibly comedy. He started laughing. It's a part about self development, and I laughed. I said, "Listen, with everything that I've gone through and stuff like that, I said I know that being in nursing and being able to share my story and knowing that I am a survivor and that I've done the work and that I am grounded and I see the world perspective differently, that I know I can help other people and I know I've helped people today. You know, I developed basically a partnership not only with patients that I've shared. I've had patients that I cry and share with me their losses and stuff like that, and I explain to them, even with me, with all the experience that I have in education, that even it happened to me, so it helped them. We talked about mental health and all this other stuff. It was pretty cool. So, self-discipline, optimism, it was pretty cool. You know, it was nice. But anyway, I just wanted to share that. It was all good. Some people, one of the patients even came back and gave me a little Jesus and stuff like that. It was cute. But, it was fun. But, then I told the doctor, I said, yeah, I gotta tell you something else. He's like, what? I said, I come to figure out that a lot of people, when they've gone through this, think that it's Jesus Christ. Like, yeah. I said, yeah, I kind of fuck with a few on the streets. He's like, what do you mean? I said, well, I'd have people come on the streets, when I was homeless, and they would be like, I'm Jesus Christ. I'd be like, no, you're not Jesus Christ. I'm Jesus Christ. But a lot of them, I wind up helping them get health insurance and getting them into mental health places so they can get help too. I wound up getting like 15 people health insurance, and some of them, not many of them that I keep up with, but I hope they do well. Because it is about self development and self worth and getting help. Anyway, so that was day 2. Anyway, I appreciate those of you who have left messages and comments and likes. And